everybody. Welcome to the GIMI Think Tank. As you know, this is a weekly virtual forum composed of GIMI ambassadors, partners, other experts, innovation officers, basically, and we share knowledge around innovation. GIMI Think Tank was created around 2020, and basically we have made it a disciplined and consistent basically forum that we run every Wednesday, every basically week. And the main aim of this forum is to create a fluid, agile, and solid community of innovators around the world to share mainly valuable and cutting-edge knowledge about trends, about innovative solutions happening around the world, and of course, sharing more and promoting more and creating more awareness about GIMI framework and what GIMI is doing to democratize innovation around the world. I like to leave like around 3 minutes to show a GIMI video for people who are new here. Of course, we have always familiar faces, but there are new faces. So 3 minutes for the video, and then I'll leave the floor to Adi to moderate this very insightful discussion that we will have today. Vanessa?
Hello, my name is Hitendra Patel. I'm the Managing Director of the Global Innovation Management Institute. I'd like to welcome you and join our vision and our mission of the Institute. Our vision is to democratize innovation everywhere, in organizations like universities or corporations, in high schools, in governments. And the idea is to unleash that creativity across the globe. Our mission is much more simpler: to train 1 million people worldwide, certify them, and unleash their creativity and their problem-solving skills to target any problem on this planet. The Global Innovation Management Institute has got certifications for individuals, for corporations, as well as for the government. And the whole idea over here is through certifications, people have the right to practice innovation. Through certifications, we create a roadmap for how to get better and improve as we get level 1 certificate to level 2 to level 3. We are today working with the Dubai government, the Qatar government, across Colombia, in Brazil, in the United States, helping these institutes and these countries become better in terms of their innovation journeys. We're working with corporations, giving them roadmaps, how they can go from level 1 to level 2. And we're giving certificates to individuals as they go from level 1, 2, 3, and 4 in terms of how they can actually innovate themselves, how they can innovate in teams, and how they can innovate in a company.
We've worked with several innovation consultancies, and we found the GIMI methodology to be able to help us democratize innovation very quickly across large groups of people.
Curriculum isn't enough anymore. We need to really be finding ways to expand the school into the community and bring the communities into the school. And design thinking and the GIMI impact model is what's going to help do that. I think that we really need to start looking for authentic, experiential learning opportunities for our students. And this is a really great framework that teachers can use that makes it easy to do.
The value that we see being part of the GIMI program is that we can offer capability building for students, for professionals, for corporations, and that's really exciting to be able to create a language that can help everybody connect with what strategic innovation is.
Today we've got 25 countries who are partners of the Global Innovation Management Institute. We'd like to see all 195 plus countries becoming part of this institute. So we are looking for training partners across the globe. We're looking for university partners in every one of those countries so they can be part of our network. And we would like to see companies and corporations around the world all embracing the certification programs of GIMI. And as a result, we can target any problem and we can solve any problem. Join us on our mission through certificates to give people the right to practice and a roadmap of how to improve.
Great. Thank you very much for listening to this. Now I'll like to give the floor to Adi to present our speaker for today.
Sure. Thank you, Rila. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the session today. I would like to introduce Sarah, and really, if you can put Sarah's bio on the screen. I'll do it perhaps in a less traditional way. Typically, we start just talking about the individual's, the presenter background, which I'll get to. But I would like to say on a personal level, as a consultant, I had the opportunity to work with dozens, if not hundreds, of companies. I like my client, I want them to succeed. But then there's this very small group of clients where I felt highly privileged and proud to work with because of their mission, because of their impact on the world, because of what they stand for. And Sarah and the organization that she founded and heading now, Social Impact Partner, is absolutely on top of that list. Social Impact Partners that founded by Sarah is dealing with or addressing the most challenging, aspect in healthcare, both healthcare and societal challenge in our society, that is brain health and addressing neurodegenerative diseases. The impact cannot be overstated. About 150 million people are expected to be affected directly by related brain health conditions. It's a very complex challenge that currently our healthcare system, society at large, is simply unprepared to deal with. And Sarah and SIP are taking it heads on. As I mentioned, it's affecting directly will be affecting shortly in the next decade or two, 150 million people. But if you include the families and the extended families, the numbers are in the billions. It affected Sarah as well, Sarah family, and Sarah turned a personal challenge and a loss into a source of inspiration, energy, creativity, and innovation. And that's the reason that we at IXL are very proud and privileged to be part of that journey. A small part, because that journey has a lot of moving parts that Sarah is orchestrating that she'll talk about. So again, just one on a personal level, said this is a very special session for me, and I feel, and all of us feel, very privileged that Sarah will join us today. Sarah brings a very rich experience into Social Impact Partner, both in the private sector as an entrepreneur, as a technology entrepreneur, and in the biotech industry. In addition, Sarah brings a very impressive academic background from Dartmouth College and Harvard Business School. As an MIT Business School graduate, Sarah, I will not hold the Harvard Business School degree against you. It's an impressive part, certainly an impressive achievement. And all that experience and energy is really manifests itself in the journey that SIP is on. So we are looking forward for the discussion. As I mentioned, brain health is a highly complex and multifaceted challenge. Obviously, we're not going to cover all the aspects of that challenge today, but Sarah provide us a glimpse into SAP, which stand, by the way, for Social Impact Partners, and the name is very appropriate. It's about impact, it's about social, and it's about partnership. And we'll touch on all of those in the session today. So, Sarah, without further ado, let me turn it over to you, and then I'll pick it up at the other end for a discussion and Q&A with the group.
Well, thank you so much for your incredibly gracious introduction. You know how I feel about all the work that you and Hitendra are doing in all your initiatives to bring innovation to the world. So I'm a big fan, and so delighted to be here. I'll share my screen, and and just walk a little bit through what we're doing, but I very much want this to be interactive. So please dive in and interrupt me, and we'll keep to time so that we can spend about 20 minutes, but so we can really get into a dialogue. You know, I think as we think about the things that we get involved in, and as you said, I've spent my career, and I don't want to age myself, but I I will, last 39 years in social impact. And it spanned everything from starting AmeriCorps. I've always believed in young people. I've always believed in movements. I've always believed in innovation. If I had listened to any of the people who told me I shouldn't do things, I wouldn't have done any of the organizations I've started, from AmeriCorps to my education company to the technology world. But as you know, my last 16 to 17 years have been passionately spent in the aging, longevity, and brain health space. And you know, I think this is personal for all of us, but sometimes our most passionate ventures, our most important moments are derived from challenges. And you know, sometimes ironically, we're given the challenges we're meant to face. As you know, Adi and Hitendra, I was running my technology company, first of all, having been told that seniors wouldn't connect, but we knew profoundly how important it was to connect an aging population and the catastrophic consequences of isolation and broken families. And this is all pre-COVID, back in 2007. And but sadly, along the way, as I was running this company and connecting thousands of families and seniors in what ended up being about 6,000 senior living properties across the country, my husband was diagnosed with dementia, and my children and I faced that personal battle in our own homes. And just when you think you're prepared and informed and knowledgeable about something, you know nothing when it hits you, and you realize how little the whole world knows, and how much we need to come together around this. So we really felt, you know, I've always believed in the power of public-private partnerships. I've done them my whole life, whether I was starting a for-profit company and serving on boards, that ability to find a place and a space where people can collaborate. And so when we looked out into the dementia and brain health world to see the catastrophic consequences, we really thought about this big what if, right? What if we could actually create a world without dementia? What would it mean for families? What would it mean for businesses and governments? And we'll kind of walk through all the different opportunities, but we really also fundamentally believe that young people have to be part of the solution. We, in so many instances in life, if we get out of our own way and let the younger people thrive, which is why I'm such a huge fan and obviously partner with your Innovation Olympics that we have also deployed to this end, and I'll talk about a little bit. You know, we lost my husband a year and a half ago, my children almost to the day. And you know, the thing you quickly realize as you see the faces is this is not just an older person's disease, that everyone's affected. When a family, first of all, he was quite young when he died. But a whole family is affected when someone has Alzheimer's, when someone has dementia, and Scott didn't have Alzheimer's. This is why dementia is so misunderstood. He actually had frontal temporal dementia and Lewy body. And we wouldn't have known that if we hadn't donated his brain to science. We are so far behind in the brain sciences. We have studied cancer, we have studied the heart, we have studied all the pieces of our body, but most of us would say that the rest of our body is here to keep our brain warm. We are nothing without our brain, and actually no one wants to be here without their brain. And so we've figured out how to make people live longer. We have extended life, but we have not extended quality of life. And the brain is so underfunded and so misunderstood. We don't even, the ability to diagnose, you know, as dementia comes on, it's coming on 20, 30, 40 years. In fact, what we're going to learn today, and what most people know, is this is birth to death. What we're doing every day is changing our trajectory, and our intense ability right now to focus not just on our beloved aging population with catastrophic numbers and no support for families and caregivers and others to really deal with it, but that our young people are really suffering, and the whole mental health crisis and what we're doing every day from the time they arrive on this planet actually dictates a big part of their outcome. So I think one of the hopeful pieces right now is to embrace this hope of everyday matters, to embrace epigenetics and what we're working on. And so to kind of translate that into, what are we doing and why? I'm going to talk a little bit about the numbers. You touched on them, Adi, but we're all business people here. We're all humans. We all have families. This matters to all of us, but we're also business people. And this is one of the biggest double bottom line opportunities I've ever seen. So clearly the numbers are catastrophic. The projected global cost of dementia and related dementias is expected to surpass 6 trillion by 2030. As you said, if nothing changes, the numbers will double in the next 20 years with the aging population. And so we will have, and all these numbers are underreported because people don't go in and get reported. In fact, my guy would not have been in the numbers because everyone realizes there is nothing for me. There aren't solutions. So why even bother go get diagnosed? What am I going to do? And then on top of it, we have this escalating. And of course, these pandemics have been around. Mental health disorders have been around for a very long time. But maybe the hopefulness of this moment is that people are willing to talk more about these things, that brain health is a topic post-COVID. But our global cost right now to mental health disorders is more than 5 trillion and expected to triple by 2030. So it is massively affecting every business. So while we look at these catastrophic numbers, or what do we all intend to do about it? Well, I think there's lots we can do about it. And actually the economic opportunity is equally as interesting. Health and beauty and longevity are a massive industry that is growing. And expected to exceed 110 billion. Actually, in 2022, expected to go up to 600 billion by 2025. And we actually have the largest spending power that any group of people has ever known. Our silver economy, I think I'm afraid I'm in that one. But, we really do care about this and we have huge purchasing power. So if I were to walk out the door tomorrow and think, how could I possibly make the most money? I might focus on brain health and longevity. And if I were to walk out the door tomorrow and say, how could I do the most good? I would absolutely focus on this topic. So I think we have a wonderful opportunity to come together. So, okay, why not a moonshot, right? I mean, why not really take this seriously? We did a cancer moonshot in the White House a number of years ago. We actually did a real moonshot and put men on the moon. And here we have the most vital piece of our body that is totally underfunded, totally misunderstood. When we go into the doctor's office, no one's checking our brain. They check everything else. There's no brain check. We could actually diagnose these things many, many, many years earlier. So we decided to put together a global nonprofit, as you know, because you guys are deep and abiding partners in it. And we, as somebody who serves on many other boards, I've read every book, I serve on every board, I'm following the science. We really feel like so many things in life, people work in isolation. And there's just silos. There's silos in for-profit world. There's silos in the nonprofit world. There's silos everywhere. There's silos in science. If we could actually just get people to talk, which they were forced to do in COVID, and collaborate and innovate, and then communicate that with leadership and education. And maybe we could start this movement, right? A global nonprofit that everybody has a stake in. Doesn't matter your business, your company, your employees, your families are affected. And maybe there's just something that we can all come together around. So that was the idea of Social Impact Partners. I hope everybody who's on this call who's not already a member becomes a member and participates, because we all have powerful things we can do. But at the very heart of it is, and that's why we're so well aligned with both your GIMI and your IXL and all that you guys do, is we want to be that agile nonprofit that's really not just talking about the problem, but is focusing on what we can do about it. There's a lot of, you can go to these conferences and everyone can talk about what the situation is, but those brave enough to actually step out and say, I'm going to be part of the solution, are few and far between. And we need many of them. We need everyone to believe they're part of the solution. So we have worked to create value through the global consortia, through creating microforums. Focus for one of the big topics has been food is medicine. We eat 3 times a day. Actually, if we're lucky enough to, because there's food deserts, and twice the numbers in areas of poverty in terms of what people have access to. And we can start talking about some of these pieces. We have a whole framework for starting a venture studio and raising capital to be able to, in a public-private partnership way, invest in the new ideas that are created. We have been very active members, as you know, just finishing our second Innovation Olympics, all focused on brain health and creating products and services that will both be deployed through the major corporations. This year, as you know, we had 40 judges, but also in new ventures that the students create themselves through the process. I think this is an important piece. I study the science every day, and I'm actually working on it separately in an LLC called Everyday Matters, where I'm working exclusively on trying to bring products and services to the market that have to do with brain health. And here's what's so interesting is, through a body of science called epigenetics, which is a fancy word that most people don't know, it's a really very powerful concept, which basically says that 70 to 80% of our health outcomes are associated with what we do every day and have been from the time we were born. And so how powerful is that for every parent, for every child, for every family, for every employer, and for every person, even to realize that today I can take control and I can do things differently, which I decided to do myself in the midst of our battle when there was not even time to shower. I was CEO, I was caregiver, I was mother, I was scientist, I was in the middle of a pandemic running a business that served others in this situation. And I began to realize if I didn't take control, then I was going to be no good to anyone. And I think that's all of us, right? And so we are working with all the top scientists. Everybody has a different methodology. I have my own. I don't, and they're all saying the same thing, by the way, the social determinants of health. Everybody can come up with an acronym, and I've got things that I do every day, which I'm now focused on trying to get out there. But essentially, our food really matters. What we put in our body, the inflammation in our body, the gut-brain connection, the inflammation in the brain is bad, just like it is everywhere else. And it is the root of most of the issues, including things like not only dementias and Alzheimer's and but also things like, when you think of Lewy body, when you think of Parkinson's, many of these diseases are starting from inflammation. Physical exercise is profoundly important, does really important things for our brain and our overall health. Our sleep, we've learned so much about sleep. Sleep is absolutely critical. There's only after deep REM, when we get into our deepest sleep, can the microglia clean the junk out of our brain. It happens every night, but if we never get there, it doesn't happen and it builds up. Our social community and our purpose, what purpose, inspiration, there've been books, some of the scientists I work with, what inspiration and confidence does to your brain versus the opposite. The chemicals that are released, the powerful healing connections that are created from true community and purpose versus the catastrophic consequences of isolation, depression, stress, and all of the things our world has been basically bombarded with, and our children have been bombarded with, and it's taking a toll. People can disagree around the corners. I love that the Blue Zones put a nice glass of red wine in there. I'm all about that. Sugar is obviously the devil in terms of food, so I'll save my sugar for the wine. But we can I think all of us being able to take a piece of this, and we're so privileged to be working both with many of the top scientists. We work with the McCants Center for Brain Health with Dr. Rudy Tanzi and Dr. Jean Bowman. We work with the UT Dallas Center for Brain Health. That's their circle right here with the just amazing Dr. Sandy Chapman. And as you guys know from the Olympics, they're all involved in coaching and working with the young people as we try to create change. We've also created a collaboration. We have some of the world's largest companies. The idea of not only combining the energy of the youth, but if we were to go out and try to take some of the largest companies in the world and change things, and if they not only did it through their product base, through their marketing, through their offerings to consumers, but to their employees. And so we have a stunning group of partners at the table, many of whom you have met, and real standout examples like a Sodexo, who serves 100 million people in about 60 countries every day in every walk of life, from senior living to hospitals to schools to governments to workplaces. And just imagine the power of a partner like that taking this really seriously. Well, they do, and they've worked in both series of Olympics, and they're moving these ideas forward, and it is changing everything. And they are a stunning corporate partner, and we're going to be bringing together a group of some of the other world's largest food and food service companies to try to change that piece of the equation. Working jointly, as you know, with legislators. We can't do this alone. We need the payers to pay attention. We need governments to help us. Cory Booker's out in front talking about food as medicine and food deserts and how we are literally killing people with what they have access or don't have access to. In poverty, the white breads and the starches and the pasta and the mac and cheese versus whole grains and vegetables and non-processed foods, and they're killers, and the access is really important. So as you guys know, in our joint Innovation Olympics, which we will be continuing every year and are so proud of, and I think there's such an appetite to also combine these with investments, and we can talk about that. And for any of the countries out there, this has been global. We've had, I think now, I have to go back and look exactly at the stats, but I think the students have come from about 16 different countries. Over 100 students have participated both in the competitions and on our youth board, actively taking these forward. And we hope that we can replicate and have membership from all countries. Last year's concepts, as you know, were the winning concepts were in the food as medicine, supported by a holistic plan to be able to integrate these into different places that we live, work, and age, and into our own homes. And one of the concepts very much focused on the microbiome, and also an emerging world of psychedelics. That was the Harvard team's. These were their two winning concepts. This was the Dartmouth team's concept. But the students have come up with innovative technology solutions. They've come up with AI integration. They've come up with ideas around creating an accelerator and an investment fund. And every single idea they've come up with, we intend to embrace. We have also had students join us from every single Olympics team on our youth board to continue to move these ideas forward. And several have already started companies or integrated into the working world to bring this with them. One is even a practicing doctor in Switzerland right now, working with Alzheimer's and dementia patients and helping us right now on some pragmatic trial work. So it's just what the students take, and as you know, those who are engaged are involved from so many different walks of life, from medical school, business school, engineering school, undergraduate, doctoral students, etc. This is kind of my group of 8 that I focus on. And I really feel like the data is super important right now. How we create centers of excellence in the places that we live, work, and age. It impacts every one of us. And so this was the topic of the last Olympics. The judges, as we know, went from about 9 to about 40 this year, representing every walk of life, from nonprofits and for-profits and scientists and technologists and on it goes. So this year we had these outcomes. We had 6 universities and 26 participants in 10 countries. And the ideas for creating these centers of excellence and even sort of wellness retreats, and one of the teams, the Italian team, really embracing our vision around bringing more money to the issue and starting a fund, which is something we're very, very interested in. For anyone on the call who not only believes in this the way we do, but believes investing in it is interesting, that's going to be a very active piece of this year. And so these were the outcomes from everything from the centers of excellence, the funding, corporate wellness, and caregiver support from this past year's Olympics. And last year, we created an impact report, which we'll be doing soon again this year. We combined it with not only a partnership with the Future Commerce Initiative, where we're working with corporate leaders to really integrate this into their businesses, and also our global meeting down in DC. As you see, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Booker, Senator Klobuchar, some of the other leading nonprofit leaders like George Radenberg, Dr. Sandy Chapman, a former Undersecretary of Defense, Rob Gordon, who I served with in the White House rolling out national service, who's now focused on mental health in the military. It's just a powerful group of people trying to move the change forward. these are the buckets we're thinking about in terms of our venture studio. And we always see a feedback loop. I think anybody on this call and any business I ever start, any product I help go to market, I'm going to have a piece where there's a give back, not only a percentage give back to this nonprofit, which we should all own and all be a part of, and maybe, create this agile global innovation collaborative resource. But I'm also encouraging companies who have the ability to do so, who are in the retail space, to do a roundup as well with this. So I think with that, we do believe fully that everyone is in a position to take action. We've come up with some initial ways that we are trying to do so with our elegant and rapidly growing and fairly powerful group of bandits here. But I think everyone's ideas and everyone's involvement and really looking out to the largest groups we know. I mean, if we turned around, right, to the whole GIMI world and the whole IXL world and asked everybody in their way to be a part, to be a member. We have student memberships, we have corporate memberships, or we have corporations who've now come in and said, we want to donate X to make this really a part of our strategic mandate. So maybe with that, I'll stop my share, or maybe you guys can stop it for me. Maybe I'm not as talented enough to do that. I'm not seeing the share button. And we can all just dialogue. For some reason, it's not letting me stop the share. Do you guys have a way to take it back over?
Yeah, maybe Arila, if you can try sharing, maybe that will override Sarah's sharing. Okay, so while we figure the technology out,
there we go.
maybe let me kick off the discussion with a question, and we will then open it to the group. So I think one strong background that you bring with you is your kind of technology, entrepreneurship, and executive experience. And during the Olympics, we did discuss and identify that technology has to be part of the solution just because of the scale of the challenge and the inadequacy of our current healthcare system and any societal kind of support and to those who are affected by dementia. So I'm just wondering if you can provide a little bit your perspective about the role of technology, as well as perhaps some of the initiatives that you are seeing or that you are advancing to drive technology-based solution to the challenge. And then I'll turn it over to Hitendra.
Great. Well, thank you. I think technology is so important, and hopefully we have now handily proven during the pandemic, when everyone thought we were crazy and seniors wouldn't connect, that absolutely everyone is connected. And if we have a few gifts from the pandemic, the innovation that happened there, that ironically we were right in the middle of, because that's what my company, Connected Living, did. And is now still doing in over 6,000 properties. We were also working with all of the other innovators. And so I think technology plays a number of very key roles in brain health and longevity. We can kind of piece them apart. One goes back to something I was already working on. You see me wearing the Oura Ring. I have my Apple Watch. I have our ability to think about, which is one of the things that I'm doing, thinking about our everyday actions, because it's not about trying to start walking 2 days before our doctor's visit. It's about what we choose to do every day and how we make the time to create a healthy life and be good for others and be good for ourselves. And so some of these very powerful tools we have to be able to say, okay, I saw last night how much sleep I had, how much deep sleep I had, how much REM I had, how many steps I did. I do care. And if I feel like I've been too sedentary during a day, it's not good. It's not good for my work. Running my companies, I would always say to people, listen, do we need to be looking at the computer screen, or could we take this as on a walk? Can we do a walking meeting? That actually those are some of the most powerful things. A long walk is one of the more powerful things we can do. And if you can combine it with a friend or inspiration or thinking, it's just about the best brain health exercise you've got. So I think technology in an everyday sense of how do we connect and take care of ourselves? How do we connect with others? So a big piece of what I built and in the senior living industry was that ability to bring education, socialization, family connection, track some of these important pieces. And I continue to want to work in that area where we put the pieces together, give people the knowledge of what can make things different, and then allow them to have the opportunity to put the pieces together, which we are working on the back end of the Olympics, to create centers of excellence where we take what we know, we take some of the science of epigenetics, and we move things forward. So that's one bucket of technology. I also believe that data, it's so important. It's so valuable. We actually have a lot of it. We need more. And if you actually can look at the data and even look at what people are buying and be predictive, look at what's happening at a CVS, look at what's happening, you know, okay, Sarah's going in and these are the things she's buying. You might be able to, here's what's happening in her doctor's visits. Our ability to predict and detect somebody on a path of dementia earlier must happen. And we have technology can help with that. And, you know, there's a lot of different feelings on AI, right? I mean, we can all come up with the worst case scenarios that frighten all of us, and they should. But AI is here. AI is here to stay, and it's evolving very rapidly. And there's many things we can do with it to be predictive and detect and move forward science. And we need to harness all of its power and good. Even in creating virtual assistants and creating, I mean, there's all kinds of things. So keeping our minds open to not only the day-to-day applications of technology, but the revolution that is happening right now and how we can get to doing more with the science, doing with earlier, you know, prediction, detection, and those pieces. I think, you know, the other piece that's really, really important on the technology front is our ability to really look at, again, back to the whole mental health picture and what we do in our corporations every day and how we fairly get an assessment without not being big brother, but allow people through HR and others to kind of know where we are, have that be their personal data, right? But be enlightened through our HR and other pieces that actually all of us are suffering. So who's pretending? There isn't a single one of us that isn't broken somewhere or someone in our family. And if you can actually recognize it and work with it, then you don't have a completely distracted workforce. And so I think also I'm a big fan of robotics. I'm working with some robotics companies right now. As you know, there was one at one of the judges, the Hello Guard, and we had actually started the robotics revolution within senior living. But when you look at industries like healthcare that are so starved for people, there aren't enough people. There is a 1.7 million shortage of people caring for our aging population. There's many, many more millions shortage in the hospitals. So now you have a catastrophic situation where what can we do even from a technology standpoint to not only move the world forward, but bring engagement, socialization, cleaning, delivery. Like if you could, the cleaning bots and delivery bots, if you could take those jobs off of a human, so the humans are saved for the interaction and the things they need to be doing, or all of a sudden Mary needs help and I can send Temi down or a robot down to check on her. It's my face on the robot. Like, are you doing okay? But I can't be in 5 places at once. I've got 5 buzzers going off. So I think robotics is a really exciting and rapidly evolving piece of the mix. But that's a long answer to your question. I'm obviously excited about the technology, and I see opportunity for all of us to grab pieces of it and be part of deploying solutions.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Tundra.
Sarah's a good friend, and we've been working for probably even 10 years. And Sarah's been working even longer on this topic. And you saw the trend. You saw the aging population. You saw the dementia. You saw all this way before things were coming. And you've been pushing it. And the thing about Sarah, I want to set up the question for you, Sarah. But the thing about Sarah, she puts her arms really wide, and she can move mountains and people and connect them together with her energy, her passion, and her stamina, right? So this is the thing about Sarah, which everybody should admire, of course. But behind what Sarah is doing is she's actually telling all of us the biggest tsunami is coming. There's a tsunami. It's huge. It's huge. And with the aging population and dementia, we don't have enough talent. There's enough business opportunity for every business operation in the world, whatever industry you're in. And there's going to be a lot of technology that is just evolving now that's going to make things better if we start now. But if we don't, we're going to pay a huge price for it. So Sarah, let me ask you the question from your perspective. You've been basically an evangelist on this front for a long time, and you've been telling everybody how to get this thing started. Where are we on the excitement, enthusiasm as a movement to see this as everybody recognizes it as the problem, one of the most important problems, and they're beginning to put investment dollars in industry behind it to say, what's the car of the future for the aging? What's the house of the future, the food of the future? What's the recreation activities? How do I take care of my parents and still love my kids and look upwards and downwards? All those kind of industries. So Sarah, where are we on this thing? Because people can talk, it might be too early, it might be right now, or do we should have started 5 years ago?
Well, first of all, hi Tendra. It's I just on a personal note, it's right back at you because you're a one-man wrecking ball too in terms of trying to make things big and go. And that's why I think we have such an opportunity together. And of course, I can't look at you without seeing my husband's face, since he was actually the one who introduced me to you so many years ago when he was doing recruiting with you. Anyway, I think that I think we are in a real moment of hope. And every now and then, one of the things I'm very good at, we all have our superpowers, is collaboration. I've always thought 1 + 1 was 11. I've never looked out the door and seen everyone as my competitor. I've seen how we can work together and be stronger. I'm grateful that other people, if someone else walks out and says, this really matters, I'm doing this about it, we need all of us to do something. So that's one of the first things. But I feel like, in answering your question, I feel like this is a moment. I mean, I saw it with the National Service when it was just the time to do that. This is the time. Brain health, mental health, dementia, what happened to all of us as a planet, all of us collectively. We had a shared experience that is rare, and that the history books will go back and look on. And so many challenging things happened, and so much damage was done. But to me, the really bright light, the really, really bright light that I take forward is everybody is right now focused. This is a focus. And I really think we have a moment to grab everyone, and the power of what you guys do and what we do together. And just to say, if everybody did a little piece, and if we saw so powerfully how together, no one of us has the solution, but you look out over those judges we had in the Olympics. If every one of them figured out, what's my piece of this and how do we do it together, we get there. If we could get the pharmaceuticals to talk the way they did with COVID, everyone's doing okay who was a part of the solution. Everyone's making plenty of money. Everyone's doing okay, but we got a solution because we were forced to it, and people were forced to talk. And it really is okay to collaborate. And I also know from a business standpoint, people like to do business with people who stand for something. In fact, that customer loyalty, 70 to 80%, you can be any old company with a product, and then you're the company with the give back. And I want to buy from you because it feels good, because I know you're actually doing something larger than yourself, which is where I think we have this moment, Hitendra, where not only are people paying attention, but why don't we just say the crazy stuff? Why don't we just say, everybody do the roundup? Everybody. We would have millions going into innovation. Why don't we all look at ourselves? We all have employees. We all have families. We all have a superpower. What's my piece of this? I'm trying with my Everyday Matters to move science forward, pragmatic trials forward, create products and services. I'm working with companies who want to take this seriously. I'm all in, and my partners and science friends are all in. But all of us can be part of this nonprofit, and we could create this global storm that allows us this safe place to collaborate and invest. So I think we are in the moment, and I view what you do, and I view not only the GIMI Institute, but IXL is just one of the most tremendous partners we can have. Because yes, it should be every country, it should be every company, it should be every student, and we all have a part. And whether it's a $25 gift from a student because that's what they have, to thousands of dollars from a judge or a corporation who wants to take this and take it seriously, best money they ever spent. We have solutions and ways for people to, connect and innovate. But I think the time is now.
So just for the audience, I'm a member of SIP, and I encourage every one of you to go to the website and link in, get connected, because this is the issue that's going to affect your parents. And if it's not your parents, it's going to affect you. And so you better get involved now, because if you want your last 30 years of your life to have quality, this is the movement that's going to create quality for all of us, and a whole bunch of dignity in how we're going to age, which is very important. Thank you, Sarah, for doing all what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
there are a couple of comments on the chat, just I think demonstrating the power of our global network. So there is a question comment about Latin America and about Norway. Let me start with Latin America. Lucia asked about how can Latin American organizations can participate, can get engaged. And I would like to expand that question also, as we found in the Olympics. I mean, there were a mix of teams from developing countries, developed countries, and I thought the power and the diversity of insights from both type or both group of countries was absolutely valuable, especially where I firmly believe that a lot of the solution actually will come from the developing world, given the needs. So first I'll let you answer the Latin America question, but then expand it about international, going international cooperation.
Yes, and I'm happy to take the questions too from people on the call. I see both the Latin America question and the Norway question.
Okay.
Yes, yes, and yes. This is all of ours. Who steps forward first? Who steps forward in a big way? I mean, the fact that if I start with, I think it's Truls and your newest member of the Innovation Lab of Norway as the Department of Health, absolutely. I mean, let's have first of all, in the Olympics, let's have a Norway team. Let's have the health departments involved. We're talking about what can our countries and our governments do. We can't solve this without governments can't support what's happening either on the mental health, the dementia crisis, the food issues. There's so much we need and can do together. In Latin America, I mean, we want everybody to be a part of this. The longevity, brain health, youth organizations. I mean, there is a space here for all of us. And so I think it's who do we know and who are we connected to? And also who's innovative, even within our Olympics, we had 40 judges, right? I think all of them are actually going to be doing something about this. Some may just be drinking it in and they benefit. And some are actively and actionably taking this forward in very strategic ways. And both are good. All of us are, but I think this opportunity to say, what can we do? I hope that we have a huge Latin America presence. I hope that Norway is significantly involved. I think getting departments of health and governments, many countries are far ahead of us. Canada actually invests in innovation themselves. As you know, we've had Canadian teams, and a Canadian team tied for first place this time, and last year was stunning. We have UK has put, I believe H needs to be in our ESG and our corporate health pieces, and UK has tried to put this into their laws. Norway is always ahead of, I mean, there's so many things we can do to set a standard for others in the world to not only step out and do it. What does Norway's health department want to do, and how could we take a leadership role in science and all the rest? And then we show others. So the beauty of it not just being certainly a US initiative. This is all of us. In fact, some of our largest partners are in Europe right now. So I hope everyone's involved.
Okay, so it seems you have Norway already on board, and you have Latin America, so you have a really nice balance in terms of the seasons of who to work with between the winter and the summer. And
Ellen, if I might, even with all your friends on this call, I've always seen also a very powerful way, the people who love innovation, the people who love to build things, the people who see beyond what's in front of them. I mean, IXL and GIMI is exactly that. And any chances we also have to collaborate with organizations you're already working with who are excited about this, back to collaboration, this is exactly it. Somebody's going to step out in front. And when we do, We're going to prove new data. We're going to prove new science. I already know when we put these pieces together, good things happen. Let's track it. Let's study it. Let's come up with new interventions. And then let's give it to others to do so we can create change. And maybe those next big pieces are happening in Latin America and Norway. Hooray. Let's keep going. And I will work with anybody, anywhere. And I hope that, we keep setting models that once we prove different pieces, others are then, most people do follow in others' wake. We know this about innovation. So let's just keep finding the places that we can break out, and then hope everybody joins us by what we've proven through the data and the outcomes.
Relay, so your hands up.
Yes, thank you, Ali. First of all, Sarah, thank you very much for being today. And I'm super impressed, actually, and super inspired by this discussion, because I know I have followed your work through the words of Hitendra and other colleagues working with you, and definitely looking forward to meet you. I think you mentioned several industries which are affected by this super significant challenge. But one industry which is, of course, of importance for us as GIMI, for me and many people here, is education, right? So talking here not only about traditional and formal education, because I guess starting from dementia awareness, neuroscience and all this, but even to corporate well-being programs, right, which is very important in the day world, because the burnout rates are very high and all this. What are you doing in this regard? So what are some initiatives that you are undertaking?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that. I really think, as do a number of our brain health scientist partners, that one of our next Olympics or an Olympics should be solely focused on the mental health crisis and the crisis within education. I think there isn't a university head or president out there where this isn't one of their number one issues. And whether it's an on-campus school where it's rampant, or whether it is a virtual school, and by nature of the virtual, you are also isolated and you are dependent on just technology versus necessarily always human contact. How can we address this issue both in terms of information, services, willingness to talk, even just people being willing to say, this is actually a normal thing right now. This is not the abnormal. This is something we're all dealing with. We're all human, and we can really help each other. So I would like to see some real focus here. I would actually like to have, personally, even in some of the work I'm doing, an example on a college university campus or virtual campus of here's where we were, here's what we decided to do about it, here's where we get to. And I think these things are all very tangible, but also I believe in the way that we work on this. It's in all of our hands to be able to say, this is what I'm now going to do to take action with the people that I affect. And to me, that's every corporation in the world now. And it's every educational institution in the world. We're either studying somewhere, we're living somewhere, or we're working somewhere. And when we're working somewhere, we spend about 80% of our time doing it. So what is our responsibility to our employees? Never mind the products that we create, but just our employees. Every single company has employees. What am I doing about their health and their families so I have the most productive and healthy employees that I can have? And I think we all have a very long way to go on that. And I think also the paradigms all changed. COVID changed everyone's paradigm. The workplace is not the way that it was. Everyone likes to wake up and say, hey, nothing's changed. Everything's changed. And we actually have to also embrace it and figure out how we give the socialization and I believe in the power of coming together and people's energy. And that's real, and actually very real for our brain. It does very important things when we are physically together, but also to recognize there is a virtual world now. And how do we create the best mix of all of this for the people that we love, the organizations we're in, and the places that we study? And clearly you guys as an organization affect all of those ecosystems. And so any way that you want to work with me on that, or us on that, I would love to. It only takes that one person to say, here's my piece and I'm going to move forward. And I'll certainly do everything I can to help pull pieces and resources together to do that.
Thank you very much for that, because as you see, some of our partners express the interest, right, to be part of this. And we have 28 partners around the world, starting like Africa, Europe, Asia, North America, and all this. So I think definitely we can see lots of synergies in here. So let's talk more about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the food is medicine. I see that here too. That's very real. It's something that we all do every day, or sadly don't have the chance to do every day when we talk about poverty and food deserts and health equity. So, but what we're putting in our bodies right now, what we're serving up, what the food companies are serving up, what our fast food is serving up is literally killing us. And there's just things that we know. And so how do we first of all make people aware of what we do know, the science we do have in front of us, and then how can we continue to move that forward? So there are places in the world, and that's my Blue Zones partners, where people do things differently. They eat differently, they socialize differently, their purpose is different, the pieces that make them healthy and the reason that these places in the world people are living longer. It's all these things that we're talking about. And it is a combination. If we had all the answers, we wouldn't be in this situation. So we need to be a part of piecing it together ourselves too, and moving the science in that direction while we're working on cures, which I'm praying we can get people to collaborate and work on vaccines and cures and the science. That's part of the mission too.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. Brett, so your hand's up, so turn it over to you.
Hi, Sarah. I don't know if you saw my comments. I figured I better chime in. I was the founder and president of the IOIP, which merged with GIMI for the last, I don't know, 12, 13 years. But my day job was as a professor. I was a professor at Mayo Clinic, working on natural language processing, big data, analytics, that type of stuff. And then moved over to NYU, Mount Sinai, where I did a lot of research on eye diseases. But I also was a participant in a book on the microbiome. And kind of my piece of it, because I'm probably more business person than physician, with some of the complications with the microbiome, ownership, things like that I think a lot of people need to be aware of. So, for example, your microbiome can come out in your feces, and once you flush it down the toilet, have you given up ownership of that microbiome if somebody were to harvest it and find a cure for something? Also, personally, my wife has both of her grandmothers, and her mother just, basically dies of Alzheimer's. Her mother doesn't even know who she is or anything anymore. So it's kind of personal. So if you, well, of course, I encourage everybody to read the book. I'm not the primary author. I just wrote 2 or 3 of the chapters, but it's an interesting book on the microbiome. And the other thing I fear, of course, is we do need more research, because the whole microbiome thing, probiotics, et cetera, is a little bit like the debate about wine and whether it's good for your heart or not. This month it is, next month it's not, then it is again, then it's not again. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this space. And so I'm available if you just want to reach out to me, and you can contact.
Not only would I love to reach out, you have just talked about all of the things I'm trying to most deeply work on with the people who really care about it on all these fronts. The food, the microbiome, the science. We're working on some pieces for pragmatic clinical trials. Mayo obviously came out with one of the first pillars of brain health that you saw, that I put up first on the piece, which still hold true to this day. And like everything else, the candor for us to say, here's what we know, and so here's what I'm going to do about it. Sort of the why not. Why not take turmeric because it's anti-inflammatory and inflammation's bad? But here's what we don't know. And that list is so much longer. And so it is incumbent on all of us. None of us are standing here with the answers, or we wouldn't be in this predicament. So one, to try to transmit what we do know, or the why nots. Where here's what I'm doing about it. Here's how I'm living my life based on what I know. Here's what I've told my kids. If you're going to stay up and study until 2 a.m. to get the A on your paper, then miss your class in the morning. Miss your class, because it's more important, if you were accomplishing that task, that you actually get 7 hours of sleep and don't damage your brain tonight because you can't get it back. And these are the things we didn't know. I mean, how many all-nighters have I pulled in my life, but I didn't have that information, and they do now. And so what can we transmit because we know them? and what are the many, many, many things we need to work on because we don't know. And I would love to have a conversation with you to talk about some of the things we're working on and how you and your work and your body of knowledge could be in this. And in fact, one of the things we're going to be doing is a enhanced speaker series, and the microbiome as a topic. And it is this topic. It is like the Wild West, right? Well, there's things we know the gut and the brain are connected, but the stuff we don't know is quite a large list. And so here's where we are, and maybe here's what we can do about it, right? But that personalization in the medicine and that understanding that you and I are not the same. There's some generic things we can all be doing collectively that are good for us, but also there's that it's personal piece of it, that if we knew a little bit more about my blood or my microbiome or these pieces and I could make some direct decisions, that would be great. All of these things are, there's so much to do. And obviously you're one of the experts. So I'd love deeply to work with you in this area.
Well, I don't know about experts, but I do what I can.
You're in the game, and you're personally impacted like all of us. And this is where, when you open your mouth, to me, it's every family. It's why the numbers are so underreported, because who's reported or not, you can't talk to somebody about this without them saying, I'm affected.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So this concludes our session. If you don't want to stay over and have a chat, we'll leave the call open. I think Sarah.
Please feel free to share my email and my phone number with the participants. To me, a smaller group like this of highly engaged entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders is always the best kind of conversation. And so please feel free to share my information with anyone who wants to follow up and get involved. And of course, wonderful Allison is on here too, who connects everything in the world for me, and has been sharing comments all along. She actually put my email in here, and our link to our membership and all the rest. So
yeah, we will make sure to get your contact information to our network, and specifically the individuals. There was interest from Latin America, Norway, Morocco.
I love it. Let's take a lead. Let's go. I've never been to Norway. I've never been to I've never been to Latin America, actually. There's lots of places I need to go. So I didn't get to travel a lot as the caregiver, CEO, mom. It kind of kept me landbound, but I am now getting on a plane like that. As you know, I just got back from Europe, and hopeful to work with everyone on this.
Okay. Thank you all. And as I said also at the end of the Olympic, this is actually just the beginning. It's not the end. So we see this discussion as really opening the door for collaboration on what is most challenging crisis, I would say, in our healthcare and society at large. Thank you all for joining us. And again, we'll stay a few minutes for those who want to continue the conversation.